Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Definitely going to be very, I mean, you talk about the euchre emotion, you talk about it's Cubs, Council, Brewers, best record in all of Major League Baseball, 1 seed, I mean, this, that, all over the place.
There's just a lot. There's just a lot on, kind of going into it right now.
Is there any concern from you on the Brewer side of things that, there is quite a few guys, though, that are a little inexperienced? You got a nice mixture. You got Yelich, Freddie that have been there, right? They've played. Terang and Sal and Contreras, obviously. You've got a little bit. Contreras has a ring for crying out loud. But the Caleb Durbins, Jackson got a taste last year. The Quinn Priesters, the Chad Patricks, if Miz gets in there. Or do you think it's a nice balance between
I think it's
all?
A good balance. I mean, you mentioned some of those guys have definitely done it before, but I don't know. I don't think that it's anything I'm gonna be too okay. There's a lot of, there's some guys that are doing it for the first time, but there's also some people that got some experience. It's not something that I'm worried about. This team just kind of across the board, kind of poo-pooing the bed because it's the bright lights.
Right. So I've been asking for you to think about, give me a wild card player for this series for the Brewers here, and I was thinking about last year here too. And one guy who hit a home run in that, we haven't even talked about in a long time. He's not playing, but Garrett Mitchell. We have not heard about Garrett Mitchell for a long time here.
He got hurt, and then it was just okay. And I think he had the on his rehab assignment, kind of re-injured or whatever. So he's it's kind of a lost year for him, which is unfortunate. But I mean, the crazy thing too, Garrett Mitchell, is he's actually getting into these arbitration years now.
Yeah,
I mean, he hasn't played a lot, and granted, because he hasn't played a lot, that cost isn't going to be much. So I I don't see the Brewers not bringing him back just because you want to see. But it's crazy how that much of a difference, not that long of a time makes.
Right. And, I go back to last year. You had Frelick with that huge home run. Cheerio was playing really well baseball, heading into the post really well. That didn't make sense.
Yeah, really well baseball.
Really well baseball. I got sidetracked because someone gave you a compliment. Jordan says, I always enjoy Fridays with Brandon, so I don't know why he said that. But
why would thank you, Jordan. Why would he ever be compelled to say such a thing? But
So give me your wild card player. Who do you got?
There's a couple I had thought of, and one of them is honestly kind of odd. There's an obvious one, and then I'm trying to also kind of dig a little bit deeper, because when you're saying wild card, you're not saying one of the best players, kind of a thing.
Right.
But the first person I thought of was William Contreras, because I feel like they go as he goes.
Yeah, if he's hitting that gap with those doubles.
Well, and look, when he finally started going for him, when was that? It was the end of July. It was into August, and now obviously with the hand injury or whatever, we don't know.
Yep.
So I feel like he's someone that can kind of be that igniter, that lightning rod, but otherwise, honestly, the guy I'm going to go to, and we were talking a little bit off air, I'm going to go Joey Ortiz, because, and I had brought this up or you had even said
You're just ripping him.
I know, but that's what I was saying.
Flip flopper.
No, I'm not flip flopping. I'm saying he's important.
Yeah.
But I brought up 2018 with Orlando Arcia. That year, his regular season offensive was bad.
Yeah.
And then suddenly in the postseason, he hit 350.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If Joey Ortiz would go out and have a good offensive postseason, people would not remember what happened the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. And that's just someone that, the number was out there, he's had as many, at bats with the bases low as anybody. All it takes is to hit him one of those. Yeah. It doesn't even have to be a grand slam, just a double in the gap.
Yep.
Just something like that. People would forget all about the other stuff. To me, and then plus the defense at shortstop is going to be important.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Joey Ortiz.
I am going Caleb Durbin. I just feel like you look at this season, he's had another guy who's probably going to get some Rookie of the Year vote. Not going to win it, but he'll probably get some later votes and such.
Down ballot votes.
Yeah. He is hit in some big-time situations, if he doesn't get hit with a baseball, that is.
And he gets hit in some...
Yeah. But I think... Is it fair to say that Caleb Durbin exceeded some expectations this year?
I think so, especially because he started in the minors, and even he didn't get off to a great start.
Right.
But I think he's settled into who he is as a player, and I think you can see why someone like Pat Murphy, even when they first got him, was like, "Oh,
I love this guy.
I love this guy." He seems like the way he plays the game is kind of that's the kind of player that ball players love.
Yep. it fits this team, right? It's like the Sal Freliks.
Ideally, I don't think you would have him play third base, even though the defense is better there, just because that's more of a power position.
Yep.
But he's being productive at this point. If you're getting production out of a spot, you're not going to really complain. But no, I think that's a good one too, because he's someone that he's had some big hits.
Yep.
The defense at third obviously is going to be key, but
bottom of the lineup probably.
Yeah, like
in
someone
there
that
too, so.
Look, he's someone where if he's sitting seventh or eighth, he could be on like second base with 2 outs with Yelich up.
Right. Yeah.
If Yelich bats leadoff, like he's someone that could benefit from having maybe a more power presence at the top of the lineup.
Mm-hmm. I just feel like if the order is going to be Yelich, Chirio, Terang, Contreras, Frelick, and Vaughn, these games are going to be decided by those 6.
Yeah, they are going to need to hold their own. If not, find a guy or two that just has a series. And honestly, the other guy like I talked about mentioning was Jackson Chirio, or like.
I thought about him too,
but he was another one where it's kind of obvious. But it's like, man, like you talked about last year in the postseason, like how good he was, like, and he struggled in September. But I kind of liked what I saw in that last series with the Reds, where there were some long at bats, like he was starting to go the opposite field maybe a little bit, like, but now there's a week off, so like we don't know, like,
right.
But like he was another one where it's like, man, if he's going. It just seems like everything. It was kind of like he's the sun, and like there's so many things around him that are just orbiting. Like if he's hitting doubles, if he's hitting triples, like then suddenly, it's maybe a little bit easier for Terang. It's a little bit easier for Frelick.
You mentioned Terang. I'm kind of curious what version of Terang are we going to get? We could get the August power version, or are we going to get high average September version of Terang that we've. Which would we get? Obviously, I think if they're batting him at third, they're hoping it's going to be the power Terang that we saw in August.
And also, given however long the series goes, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to see at least 2, probably for sure, at least 2 lefty starters with Matthew Boyd, who probably could start game 2, I would think. He didn't throw very much in game 1 of the NL of the wild card round, so it's possible, but I think they might just wait and have him go game 2 on Monday and then show to Imanaga. And those are 2 lefties, like, to me, given how good like Andrew Vaughn's hit against lefties, like that's where it's going to be a test for this team, which has hit lefties a lot better. Anyone that's listened to this program for years knows I have talked ad nauseum over the years about the Brewers' inability to hit lefties. That hasn't as much been the case this year. Mm-hmm. Like, for a guy like an Andrew Vaughn to be able to do that, or is that an opportunity where someone else gets it? I'm trying to think of maybe like
Isaac Collins,
that's where maybe an Isaac Collins bops into the game, something like that. Like, I'm kind of curious with that too, because if it was the Padres, that wouldn't be the case, because the Padres really didn't have much in the way of lefty starters that they would have been throwing out there. So that's kind of one of the subtle differences in this series between the 2 teams.
Right. I was looking the other day too, just because obviously these 2 teams are incredibly familiar with each other and such, and especially Freddie Peralta and that. But you look at Freddie Peralta's 3-1 this year against the Cubbies. So he's had success against the Cubs this year. So even though they know him really well, it's like I just feel like, can he get through that 1 inning?
And that's it. Like Freddie, like we know at this point, we all know kind of the pluses and the minuses for Freddie.
Yep.
Generally he's not someone that gets hit. Like he's not getting pounded. He's not going with 3 innings and giving up 700 runs generally.
Right.
But the thing is,
yeah, there you go.
But the thing with him is, like, can you avoid that 30 pitch inning where suddenly he's out after 5 versus maybe going 6?
Yep.
That's a big difference between going 5 innings and going 6 innings. Mm-hmm. So, can he? And look, he's pitched in as many postseason games as anyone on this roster. Mm-hmm. Like he understands that situation. Like at this point, he's that guy you want going game 1. Like that's one of the many reasons you like having that time off. You're going to reset your rotation. Is you can put Freddie Peralta at the front, making sure he's getting, if it comes to that, 2 starts.
I was just I don't know if this is going to be at the forefront too, but I was thinking about this. Dude has a chance to even make more money, I think, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If he has a big postseason here and this team makes a run, it's one of those things where, he's still got, I think it's the $8 million option next year, and he's a free agent after that. But then suddenly he's already going to be on radars for teams.
Yep.
But then teams are going to be kind of looking ahead like, okay, Freddie Peralta, then if it's one of the, he's going to make himself good money. He can make himself a lot of money. And you know what? If he has a fantastic postseason, balls out, and prices himself out of Milwaukee, you know what? I'm fine with that.
Yep.
He definitely has earned that.
Absolutely. I mean, took the security for him right away, but the team-friendly contract.
And you're kind of like that was, and it's always a risk to do that because I think even with like Freddie Peralta versus Aaron Ashby, you're seeing the difference.
Yep.
Where look, Aaron Ashby, I think he settled in well as a reliever, but it's been a process to get him to this point where you feel like he's a pretty dependable reliever.
Right.
Versus Freddie Peralta, who they gave money to early, and he is he kind of started out more of that short burst role, but then he's become the ace for this team.
Yep. So, give me some keys to victory for the Brewers going up against the Cubs.
The number one, and this is when I was thinking about as kind of watching the Cubs game yesterday, is to me, I think it is very important for the lefties in the bullpen, be it Koenig, Ashby, if Dale Hall's in there, Rob Zastryzny, if he's in there. How well do they fare against the Cubs lefties? Because the Cubs lefties, Michael Busch had the big home run yesterday.
Yeah.
He hit over 30. Kyle Tucker, who was looking pretty good here since he came back from the injured list last week, and Pete Crow Armstrong, who has struggled in the second half, but still big power there. Like there's thunder in that bat.
Yeah.
Like if the Brewers can find a way to limit the lefties in the Cubs lineup, that will go a long way, I think, towards them potentially winning the series. You can't let those guys take over.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to Seiya Suzuki has hit very well down the stretch too here, but he's a righty. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I want to see how do those lefty-lefty matchups, because you know that you're going to get probably a couple of those every game.
Mm-hmm. How important is it for the Brewers to play from ahead?
I think for either team it is, just because of how they wanted to play their bullpen.
Yeah.
But, I just think always that's going to be the case. So,
mm-hmm. I feel like if the Brewers could get to that pen with a lead,
I think
I'm feeling good.
Right, and I just think, and I'm sure the Cubs feel the same way.
Probably,
but I just feel like, especially in Game 1 for the Brewers, they've been sitting around. You kind of you've got the Cubs coming in, and then suddenly if the Cubs get a couple in the first or the second, you don't want kind of the stomach to be turning right away if you can help it.
That's kind of what I'm a little bit nervous about too. It's like, okay, it's call it the rust thing if you want, or
rust
whatever.
First rust.
Yeah,
that's always going to be the thing in the playoffs. NFL, if you're the one seed, rust first rust.
Yep. I feel like if the Brewers can get through that lineup against the Cubs and maybe even get a run or a couple of themselves and just settle in right away, that's going to be a big bonus for them.
And for me too, the number one thing I'm always going to worry about the Brewers in the postseason until they give me a reason not to is scoring.
Yeah.
And I brought this number up before, but I'll bring it up here again because obviously it's very relevant. 12 of the last 13 postseason games for the Brewers, they've scored 4 runs or fewer. Now, we haven't seen a ton of games in the postseason where teams are scoring 8, 9, 10 runs, but 4 is good. 5, if the Brewers score 5 runs, I feel like they're going to probably win.
Okay.
Probably can say the same for the Cubs, but there's only one time since Game 6 of the 2018 NLCS. Remember, that was a game they won, 7-2.
Yep.
Where the Brewers have scored 5 runs in a playoff game, and that was Game 2 of last year's wild card round. They won 5. They scored 5.
Mm-hmm.
This team needs to score. If this team scores, I feel confident that they can beat anybody.
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of saying that benches or that goals almost shoot for 5,
right? And that's not easy. Cubs bullpen is good. They've got some stars that get I'm not saying that that's an easy thing to do, but and obviously I'm sure kind of sounds like the more runs you score, the better chance you have to win. But when a team hasn't scored that much, that just sticks out to me. 12 of the last 13 playoff games they've played, they have not been able to score 5 runs.
Mm-hmm. Key. What do you think is matchup's kind of hard because it's pitcher and
even that we don't really know.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
even so, I don't think the Cubs have really announced too much of what's coming up because they don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Even Pat Murphy, when it was pretty obvious, it was lining up Peralta Priester. He was kind of we know, but he was trying to keep it close to the vest, and we all kind of know.
I wonder something I haven't really seen talked about. Maybe it's just because it's last year and it's actually been a while and such, but. A lot of the same guys are on this team from last year. How much does that loss from the Mets and that kind of fuel this team a little bit? You were there, dude.
I was.
I watched that. I woke up my kid because I thought he was going to see them win and move on. And, you talk about gut-wrenching. You were on the next day.
I was, the next morning.
Yeah. And, I don't think I've heard anybody really talk about that series, so I don't know if it's really at the forefront. But I mean, a lot of those guys that's experienced that last year,
right?
I have to wonder, does a little bit of that motivate? You throw in the euchre part of it too. I mean, there's a lot of external stuff. Maybe a little bit of a motivation here for the Brewers.
Could be.
I mean, because we're all human, right?
Right.
Let's
put it this way: there is no shortage of reasons for this team to be motivated, to come out hyped. And certainly, you can be too hyped, but
right. And there's no. I mean, on the flip side, darn well know all those Cubs probably want Craig Counsell.
Oh, sure, to be able to go and be like. This is just such an interesting kind of line in the or a fork in the road kind of a thing. Like what happens if the Cubs beat the Brewers? Then what does that mean for all of that? But what if the Brewers beat the Cubs? What does that mean for all of that?
Right.
What does that mean for that narrative?
Right. So, I look at these two, and when it comes to playoffs, I think you hear a lot of people, now pay attention to the superstars or the players who have really good seasons and see what they do. Because, I mean, remember, the longest time Clayton Kershaw sticks in the playoffs.
Everyone sucks in the spotlight until they don't.
Right. And so it's I look at some of those players, like a Cal Raleigh now, because that's going to be a thing where, okay, if he goes hitless or only has one hit, doesn't have a home run.
He's a bomb.
Right. Struggles in the postseason. You're going to have that narrative. You have it with quarterbacks in the NFL when it gets to the playoffs and such.
Yeah, with coaches. Andy Reid. How much did Andy Reid suck?
Yeah.
Until he did.
Right. Dave Roberts was kind of the same way.
Yeah, Dave Roberts. How much did he suck as a manager? Until he didn't.
Right. Maybe that's kind of Aaron Boone right now for the Yankees a little bit. So, I mean, would it surprise anybody if the Yankees fired him after this year if they don't go to the World Series?
Round?
Yeah, probably not. So, I mean, get paid for the regular season, but legends are made in the postseason sort of thing. Yep. Your history is, or however that, I'm blanking on the exact quote of it is, but from a Brewers sense of it then too, who is that guy that potentially is going to make a name for himself in the postseason? That's
a great question. Here's the thing. Even though I think it's already happening, Christian Yelich can get his number up on the back wall this year. He could. Mm-hmm. If this team went on a run and he had and I'm not even saying he needs to be like 2018 Yelich, but if he was a big reason for it in the middle of it and takes this team to a place that hasn't been very often, I think that could seal him having his number 22 up.
I think we kind of talked about that a couple of weeks ago. If the Brewers win the World Series, does he move up to past Robin Yount? Which I don't think.
I don't think he will. I don't think he would.
No,
I don't think.
But number 2, above Molitor.
Molitor's a Hall of Famer. I'm not sure Yelich is going to be a Hall of Famer, but I think it would just be different. I don't think I'm not sure he could ever leapfrog Yount, unless they won 4 World Series or something. But Robin Yount's just in such rarefied air when it comes to the Brewers fans, and rightfully so. But he has his opportunity to solidify that.
If we rewind it a few years ago, because this was a topic, if Craig Counsell led the Brewers to a World Series.
I was at the front of that bandwagon saying, hey, if he would have done that, then his number would have been retired.
Right. Statue, whatever.
The whole 9 yards.
Yep. Okay. What if Pat Murphy does it?
I think he probably would anyway, just because of it hasn't been done.
Mm-hmm. The lore of it'd only be 2 years as a manager, but instantly look who he replaced.
Raleigh Finger's number is retired, and he
wasn't
a Brewer that long.
That's true. So, but okay. So you'd still think that if Pat Murphy led this team to a World Series roster, it's number retired,
I think it's very
name
possible.
etched, and all that. Yeah. The thing is, I'm not. I get it where I'm not big on just retire a number to number, to set the bar, because then I think that catches up to you. I'm not picking on them, but I think the Eagles have, is it Donovan McNabb's number retired or something like that. Then it's okay. Then you kind of get, because then you get to the question, well, does that mean Jalen Hurts should have his number retired?
Right. Because he's done.
Because you set that bar low.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas Yankees just retire everybody. It doesn't matter. It feels like.
Yeah, but it's also the Yankees. There's a lot of
right. But it's but did Bernie Williams, those type of, I get it. Bernie Williams, kind of more of a, he's like the Donald Driver of Green Bay.
Right. If you're a Yankee fan, you're going to probably appreciate him more than anyone else.
Right. But in this case, Brewers don't have a whole lot of besides 82.
Right. Heck, they just might. If the Brewers won the World Series, they just might retire everyone's number.
Right. Exactly. So, but man, think about that though. Just the story. Like, if this happens, this better be made into like an ESPN movie or a Walt Disney movie, sports movie. If the Brewers somehow win the World Series, you have to go back to when it started with Counsell as manager for the Brewers. That has to start there. And it has to start with the conversation of like the Golden Boy, the Milwaukee Whitefish Bay kid, player, comes back as manager.
He was around the team as a kid. His dad worked for the team.
Right. He's going to lead the team to a World Series. If he does, build the statue,
We need the guy that did the voiceovers be like, but then.
Yeah, but then the evil empire, turns to the dark side, and then it's like average Joe's, kind of coming through, and then all of a sudden they win it, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine?
We'll see.
The thing is, too, is like, I don't want to get too far ahead, but if the Brewers freaking win this thing, they will have earned it, too, because it's either Dodgers or Phillies in the second round.
Yeah.
I mean, they ain't going to just back into that thing.
Right.
They're going to earn it. And, God, I hope that storyline goes through there. Okay. We're a day away. Compared to the other years that we have gone through playoffs, which is, in our life, not a lot now.
Now here, more recently, we did, yeah.
How are you feeling compared to other years?
2008, I think we would agree, we're just happy to be there.
Yep.
That was just, oh my gosh, they're here.
Yep.
And it kind of looked like it once they got in there.
Yep.
2011, the expectations were raised because as fielders last year, they pushed in on Greinke and Markham.
Yep. MVP year from Braun.
Every year from Braun.
We know why.
2018 was like the arrival.
Yep.
Of that next generation.
Yelich, Kane coming over.
Right, they made the run. Like 2019, by the end of that year, the team was just so beat up though, and then just obviously the way it ended
with Yelich.
2020, I barely count 2020 as a playoff appearance because it was an 8 team where and they were the 8 team.
Yep.
2021 was a good year, but they couldn't score.
Right.
2022 they had the collapse at the end in the last 2 months. 2023 and 24 they were good, but like this year feels a little bit different because like those teams the last 2 years were good, but you feel like they won a bad division. Mm-hmm. This year you got 3 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You have half of the National League field in the first round, and now this round that's left from the NL Central. Because of how it works out, you're guaranteed to have an NL Central team playing to go to the World Series.
Yep.
So you feel like maybe you feel like maybe you feel the team is better just because it played in a better conference or division. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, there on the one hand there's a sense of urgency because I think you're never sure how many of these opportunities you're going to have. But on the other hand, it's like it doesn't feel like 2011 where like it kind of felt like it has to be this year because of so much all the young talent this team has. Mm-hmm. This team could realistically pretty much roll this team back out this exact same way next year, with some younger guys knocking on the door. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, like.
So it almost sounds like you say.
Don't get me wrong. Don't make it sound like I think like, if the Brewers lose the Cubs, I'm fine with it.
Right.
Because that's not the case.
Right.
It's just that I don't feel like this is the end of the window.
That's what I was just going to ask.
And that's how I felt like in 2018. Because I remember it was Lorenzo Cain after Game 7 in the LCS that said, he goes, we don't feel like this is the end of our window.
Right.
And it was, just maybe not so much his window.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think just as a sports fan, especially as, longer term Brewers fans that remember how it was. Mm-hmm. You don't want to just disregard it as, they'll just make the playoffs again next year. Because you never know.
Right.
You never know. I mean, I'm sure after last year, Mets fans were probably saying, we'll be back next year. Hey, we made it pretty far and then we lost. But yeah, we're going to reinforce. We're going to spend some money and we're going to be back, baby. Mm-hmm. We got Juan Soto. We're going to be back, baby.
Yep.
And then what happened?
Right.
Nothing's for certain.
Mm-hmm. Hell, even the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little different. I mean, but
they
you get Corbin
injury,
and
but,
that,
but still, like, you don't know.
Right.
Astros.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, that's where I agree with Yelich, where he kind of talked to the team and said, hey, enjoy it every time. A lot of guys don't get to experience this, but I think there was also another hidden message in there, too. It's like, we want more, though, right? The goals are higher.
Well, even I think he says, like, if the Brewers were to win a World Series, that will change this place.
Yeah.
Like, not just how we as fans view it and all that, but, like, how everyone in Major League Baseball views Milwaukee would be different if that were to happen.
This might be a really weird question, but it just popped in my mind. Say the Brewers do win this thing. I don't know how it plays out, and maybe it depends on how it plays out, how they get there. But when you think about the 2025 of the Brewers, and let's say they're World Series champions, who's going to be the first person people think of? Is it going to be Pat Murphy?
It might be.
Or is it going to be Yelich?
It might be. I mean,
is that where it depends on what he does in the postseason?
I think that plans out. Because, what if William Contreras just kills it in the postseason?
Right.
Then you see that guy at the forefront.
Right.
If Yelich does have that defining moment that ultimately, solidifies, hey, they're going to retire his number here.
Right.
Like, is it him?
Or is it Euchre because it's the first year with no Euchre?
Yeah. That's a great question. I don't think that question's answered yet.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But, man, I think about that. Yeah, what a championship, how that would change that franchise.
Yeah.
And, and the thing is, like, I would feel confident that if they were to win, it's not going to be like a Royal situation where all of a sudden
they had a few years where they were competitive, like.
But I feel like you were talking about, look at the guys kind of still waiting in the wings, though, too.
Right. And nothing's for certain. I mean, there's no guarantee that Jesus Mate or Luis Pena are going to come up and be great.
Right.
They may bust. Who knows?
Right.
But the only thing you'd have to worry about is, with great franchises, you always worry about brain drain.
Yeah.
Will teams really start cherry picking on Milwaukee then?
Yeah.
Does some team say, "Hey, Chris Hook, we want you to be our manager"?
Yeah.
And is that something he wants? Because you don't always see bench coaches and like pitching coaches and hitting coaches that want to be managers. Sometimes they just want to do what they do. But generally, in like football, if you're an offensive or defensive coordinator, you went in. There's that natural ascension. That's not always the case in baseball.
Right.
But
that's why you see so many like first timers come through. Like that's why like Albert Pujols is kind of being mentioned as a manager, or Craig Counsell when he was
right. Yeah, because Craig Counsell came from the front office.
Right.
I mean, obviously he had plenty of baseball experience, but like he was working in the front office.
Mm-hmm. Because wasn't it before then that Boston wanted to hire him as like the hitting coach was the rumor or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But